So Sandile, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we go into leadership, can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself? Where did you grow up?
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So I was born and I was raised in the township called Mhlazi, that is in Durban, south of Durban. And very interesting, humble beginnings. I mean, it was just a township, and I barely remember only 5 houses around where I grew up or was born. Today, there's more than, more than 2,000 houses that have been built subsequently. F section in Mhlazi, and that's where I was born. And I went to schools within the township, in the Pila, Ndongeni, Okwini, some of the schools. And I was fortunate, by the way, to actually have gone to a technicon, which is called Mangosuthu Technicon, which is still in Mhlazi. Why I'm saying I was fortunate, because I always say I don't think I would have been what I am today if I did not go to the technicon. It's a very humbling experience, and that's where I actually finished my diploma in cost and management accounting. And I'm a cost accountant who never practiced, but who actually ventured to so many other things which were more driven around leadership.
So what was your dream career?
So my dream career when I started, actually, funny enough, when I was in high school, I really seriously wanted to be police, because I'm sure of the way I was raised up and the people I was exposed to. It was during the very hard time. So a policeman used to be a very good person in society. And crime was not that high, but it was just one of the things of saying, I'm seeing the police and I want to be like them. But the other things that then became very clear to me was there were other things I can do in life. Past 94, started understanding other careers. Then from then on, because I saw a check was written on a rainbow career book of 80,000 per month for an accountant, that's how I became this cost accountant student, because I had to earn a lot of money, being from the township. So that's exactly how the careers shaped when I was growing up.
So where did you go from accounting?
So how it changed more or less when I was studying in Mangosuthu, why I was fortunate, because I was actually exposed to a lot of leadership things. I was in the SRC. I actually co-founded the organization in the campus, which is a global organization called ISEC. So I was the one who built up the branch in Mangosuthu. That gave me an opportunity to go overseas while I was studying.
Is that ISEC, the international?
Yes, ISEC,
okay.
yes. So I was the president and first president for the campus then. Then it gave me an opportunity to go overseas. Out of all countries, by the way, I went to Sri Lanka. And it was very amazing, because remember, I only have seen this thing on TV, going overseas on the plane. So my first time being on the plane was going overseas. 16 hours of my life, which was a very interesting thing. The exposure to the other 1,300 delegates from different countries and different parts of life, defining leadership, defining community development, actually changed the whole thing around, because then I got exposed to the whole thing around what is this community building part where people are united. And then I got exposed to this part of leadership in a different sense, because I had to stand up and represent South Africa.
In which year was that?
This was in 1990, I will just to get the year correctly, it was 1993.
Right.
When I started this part. And the whole exposure has changed things around, because already I was getting to the accounting part of it. And then the next thing, I get exposed to this particular part of community development. I got exposed to this leadership part of it. And then, funny enough, because Mangosuthu was not as advanced as other universities, I was then fortunate to be the only one who actually had an email address and have a computer, because after the conference, I had to come network and talk to most of these people. And that's when technology came into being. I remember good days when I was sitting in the server room, because my computer was there, linked direct to the server, and that was the only thing that I could do. So I ended up having to link into the server and be able to talk to the whole world and be able to talk to the world. And that's how technology, I've learned technology, understood the language of technology. Then from there on, that's when I infused myself to learning what is technology and how it works. So I've never studied technology. I actually self-taught in most of the senses.
So Sandile, who inspired you in your early days?
Early days, I will tell the truth. There was always this Bill Gates thing on my head, because I don't know how. The part of the whole, starting from April, I mean, first Apple was more Steve Jobs, and we understand that Steve Jobs and Apple. I remember my mother bought that Apple was one box, green, black screen, with green writing on it. I learned how to code and actually instruct the thing to go around. And then from there on, then when we started to get into then Word, that part 3.1, then from there on started their understanding even much more bigger. So then when I understand Bill Gates, this guy who came up with good ideas, young as he was, and around how we can actually put a desktop in each and every person's place, a person's home, which then became a very fascination for me because remember, server room and all those parts. Now I can take this thing and be able to have it at home. And how I influenced my mother to buy me this kind of like personal computer and have it at home. So there was a lot of influence around those kind of people who were actually innovating then and doing things differently.
So I believe you had a role to play in the 2010 World Cup. Can you tell us a little bit more?
So, well, 2010 was kind of the thing when because of the community building part, community building and all those parts, when South Africa was going to host, I actually was the first one. I was celebrating not because we're going to host the World Cup. I was celebrating because for the first time I thought, here's the good chance to attend the World Cup, but work there. And I said to my girlfriend then, I'm actually going to take a sabbatical. I'm going to take a month and be able to work with the World Cup team and volunteer there. It was a best thing I've ever done because not only just I learned about soccer, because I knew about that, but the amount of people I had to work with, the amount of people from different lives. I mean, the guys from the FIFA who were actually supervising the stadium in Pretoria where I was working, the security team that I was working with, police and different people. There was a lot of actually other things that were not actually planned for, but which came in and became this part of this nice life that I had to do around me.
And then when did you join Microsoft?
I joined Microsoft 8 years ago. After I worked for HP, it was again, it was one of those things. They were looking for somebody going to work with government as a government team and be able to do most of the delivery side of government programs and projects. So I was a service delivery manager then. Again, not knowing technology, service delivery was all to me about government and being able to actually expand and extend how technology can impact in government and change people's lives. So when I joined Microsoft, my sole part was, I always say to people, I'm one of the fortunate people who got deployed to corporate. So my part is how could I extend this knowledge of technology into the citizens, into the different people, and how can I help government to actually realize some of that part. So my joining of Microsoft was actually, that was the thing in my mind most of the time. But wow, I've learned so many things around technology, and I'm actually fortunate that when things are turning around in Microsoft, it's actually the time when I actually grow in knowing technology and growing knowing things around how technology can impact people's lives.
Now today you're in charge of Microsoft in KZN,
Yeah.
South Africa's biggest, most populous region and province. Can you tell us, and I believe you're very much focused on upskilling the next generation.
Yeah. So when I was offered the opportunity to actually go and lead the public sector business in KZN for Microsoft, I took it because firstly, I think it was next to home. It was a very exciting part of I'm going to be next to my mother. And secondly, I had this part in my life always said, we're doing all the good things in technology, but you're not doing it in our vernacular language. This was my opportunity to say, how do I go back home and start learning things and see how can I transform in the vernacular part, still helping government and still being relevant about government we're doing. So that's where then for me, there is a part of me which works for Microsoft, and it's got target, and it's got all the reliable things I have to do every year, every quarter to deliver. And the second part, which is the social part, how do I bring Microsoft back into people and make them feel and understand how technology is going to change their lives, but not change the way they live, but how they can change and actually be able to adopt new things in their lives to change how they do this. So I'm always proud when I work during the weekends actually with young people around infusing some of the skills which will typically be known of just a skill around AI or skill around IoT, but trying to translate it back to their language into what they do every day. Because we needed to get an organized way of doing it, founded a foundation, which I was glad that Microsoft allowed me to do this, which is called Digital SA, and the foundation is all about just digital skills. We go to townships every weekend when we find day within the week, just to actually go and talk about technology in a vernacular language. Actually get this young kid to just get excited about the fact that I'm a coder. And I mean, I've got kids actually in Claremont who are actually currently struggling but putting together a self-driving car. And that is very amazing for me because they don't know, and they've seen videos of this. They don't know what technology is getting to it. But the amount of reading and learning that they are in, being in grade 10 and grade 11, is actually kind of motivate me to say, if leapfrog young people and put them into an idea of the future, they know how to get into it and be able to climb themselves in and learn and do some of the things.
So this could be South Africa's first self-driving car?
I'm definitely sure in the way that they are working, and by the way, they don't motivate them every day. Yesterday when I was speaking with them on WhatsApp in a group, they were just saying to me, Baba Sandile, you don't understand how far we're going. We're going to be the first to actually create a self-driving car, and we're going to make sure that everybody know about us, and we're going to drive it together.
So Sandile, you were just telling us about how excited your kids are to build South Africa's first driverless car. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and how far have they got?
Okay, so because I found them already had some of the concepts around their own called digital car, because they were like using a lot of wire around it. So they've got the structure of the whole car. Yesterday we were so excited because they were discussing around how it's gonna. They still have this idea of an engine on it. So now we're actually coming up with a way of how we're gonna put in some of the technology engine around it, which is gonna be driven by the solar panels that they've actually put on it. So currently we do have a structure of the car. So they've designed the structure of the car, they've put it together in terms of like the miniature of the car, how it's gonna look like, and then they started wiring around it and trying to put the whole part around it. So now we need to put a computer board that's going to start running the car. So my life now is about teaching them what is this electronic computer board that's going to be getting to the car. Why am I replacing the engine, which is more or less called drive shaft and all the stuff they're used to, into a computer board that's going to be driving the car. So that's where we are today.
So Sandile, looking back over your career, would you say there was a major turning point or maybe a couple of turning points where things could have gone different?
Yeah, I think for me, there is a couple of the major turning points, I mean, in the life history. I mean, firstly, I think being accepted in Mangosuji Technicon, it helped a lot. Because, I mean, I always say, if I went into UCT or into all the other parts, life would have been different. Because I would have been learning from a certain level and going up. The fact that I was in a township Technicon, it actually humbled and actually able to teach me even more survival skills around how do you start actually, firstly, understanding the computer itself, because it's where you get exposed, and secondly, how do you start communicating in English, because it was not a normal thing, but in the life which was easier for me to live up. And the third part of it, I mean, being the traditional township place was very nice because there was no major shift, but it was just a very nice way of like adapting whatever I was learning in accounting back into the township. By the way, one of the key things I did when I was still there, we actually, after I went overseas, when I came back, we had to do a community project. So my community project was about creating this accounting workshop for tech shops that were around there. Getting tech shop people to learn how to do their books in our different parts. It was an amazing experience because I mean, I thought it was just a simple putting a class together, but when these people came in there, started asking questions and doing things, then just turn things around. So that was one of them. And I think for me, the other ones was when I was actually in Sri Lanka, when I had to perform our national anthem.
Okay.
Because I mean, we were part of the delegation of like few people, but when we kind of like had to stand up and realize that I'm actually representing my country, it was just like a very big part, because it then told me, you know what, going forward in my life, I'll look for any opportunity to represent my country. And I will tell the truth, that started the very interesting part. Before I actually graduated, I had been to more than 12 countries. So 3 years' time, I was able to represent my country in different conferences and different activities of youth, actually, and be able to sing this national anthem from what it used to be to the new one that was actually integrated into the country, and being able to represent South Africa at a personal level.
So Sandile, what is driving you today?
I think the lot of drive that I have today, I mean, most of my thing is about this transformation we're going through. Apartheid actually killed a lot of potential and effort in the country, and you see the way things are. When this learning around technology and how the technology is transform our lives and is transforming our lives. Actually, to me, it was just another way of how the country can actually transform and change faster. So what drives me today is actually about how this nice word called the fourth industrial revolution can actually be adopted into the very basic way of life for people to turn around their lives and learn how technology can turn their lives. So you will see me a lot going out there, just making and interpreting the fourth industrial revolution into the level of a person. Just what it means to you, how it's going to change. I mean, I was giving a presentation, I think on Thursday last week, and I was actually talking to some of the procurement managers for municipalities. And all of them were kind of amazed because they said, this Microsoft person going to tell us about robots, going to tell us about the new, how the cars will drive themselves. Actually, I made them to actually everybody take out their cell phones and look at their cell phones and ask them, is it still a cell phone? And they said to me, yes. And they're like, but how many times do you phone on it? How many times have you sent an SMS on it? How many times have you used it as a calendar? How many times have you checked emails on it? And they actually realized that the fourth industrial revolution is actually in their hands already, and they can enhance it and be able to do a lot of things around it. So those are the things that drives me. I mean, one of the near future one, I'm really, really excited about it. We discovered through the foundation that Scratch is like a coding for kids kind of concept. It's got a Zulu version of it. So the very big drive now with us is how do we, I'll call it Zulify, how do we make this coding to be about me and my Zulu friend in Nongoma, just writing a code. And I believe that Mhalaba will become an app. The day when some of the kids can code in their own language. I believe that, I mean, creating all these nice games we used to play as kids can become apps just because we're using our own language in doing them. So that's the new excitement that we're trying to infuse. Other than just doing the self-driving car now, we're actually trying to say how can we massify the coding, but in the vernacular language. We're starting with Zulu because, I mean, originally where I'm from, and secondly is where I am currently, but there's effort around vendor and closer to see how do we really move it back and make it to be about the people. It's about the money and about the big companies that you work for.
Now, Sandile, let's talk about leadership. And I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
To me, the future of leadership, it means just a simple leading through people and leading from the back. For a long of time, when I had inspiration around leaders, it was about the name of the individual, and they always had to be ahead of everybody, and everybody following them. But as life carries on and unveils itself, I actually learned that actually most of the leaders that we have are the ones that don't have titles, and are the ones actually working behind the people and be able to motivate and be able to influence the way things are going. So when I look at the future of leadership, for me, it's actually not about this single person that is being praised for being ahead, but it's about this individual who's being respected and is being honored because of the amount of life it brings to other people and the amount of influence positively to other people. And again, it's about this person who might not have a title, but has got an ability to actually get people to have a purpose, a common purpose, and have a common vision to drive together. So that is where I see it as part of the future of leadership. And the other part that I actually see a lot of, it's going to be a very important, again, future is it's going to be this leadership in a person. That means we're not going to have, again, a one leader person, but everybody will recognize their leaders in their own rights, and they can lead the way they're supposed to be. I always say to young kids when I talk to them during some of the speech I give in the high schools, in the townships, I say, you know, Mandela was a good man, and Mandela did a lot of things for us. That's why we can remember him every day. And that's why we've got months and dedication to his life. But what if all of them, they can become Mandela one day? What if they can become this person that they be? What if 2,000 of them, if I address them, could actually realize that they all actually have the capabilities and ability of Mandela? Just because they will pass the paper when it's on the floor, they will pick it up in the paper, and they will be able to touch and talk to other people. So I see leadership, the future of leadership being integrated in people. You will still have people who are going to be influential, going to be able to lead the way, but they will lead the way by being in people and be able to be with the people and working with the people. So that's where it is. I mean, I always say it's social in nature, and it's actually very integrated around people.
So Sandile, what have you learned from your own journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
What I've learned in my own journey is the importance of other people around my life. I think for me, that is actually what I strive for. One thing that I'm known of in the company called Microsoft I work, even if I get an award, my award is with 10 people or 5 people. So I'm really strive around collaboration. People say collaboration is the new currency. For me, collaboration is the new foundation of success. I've got a very powerful understanding of the fact that unless I work with people and unless I bring people around me, I will never be able to accomplish most of the tasks I've been given. So that is more or less the lesson that I've learned and what I've seen within my journey. And by the way, I can attribute most of the success that I have. At home, when you get into my house, there's a little of the cabin with a lot of awards. And I always say to my wife, these awards, some of them are replicated more than 5 times because of the amount of people that to get it. And I know one of the ones, the Impact Award that I got, I could have got a check for it, but I didn't get a check. We actually had a dinner for 20 people who were actually being recognized for the same award. And it was actually started a very interesting trend in Microsoft because I think before me, I might be wrong, but they were recognizing individuals, but we started recognizing the teams and the groups of people who are contributing in a single award of impact.
So Sandile, when you speak to aspiring leaders, what is it you tell them they should focus on for future-proofing their career?
I think for me, for future-proofing of the career going forward, firstly, they always say, when was the last time you've done something for the first time? There must be a way of understanding that our life going forward, it's about doing new things in a new way. So adaptive to change and being able to be ahead and be able to leapfrog on change. So let's not wait for something to be invented for us to be able to just launch it, but let's create some of these things. So I think for me, the most important thing, if you're inspired to be a leader these days, you should be a person who's going to be wide awake with the people, but be clear around the vision and be clear about being ahead and be clear about the fact that you are leading people towards something which is common in the whole part. I think for me, that's the most important part of it. And then secondly, don't be afraid to do something for the first time. If I was afraid to get into a plane for the first time, I don't think I would have learned. I would have ended up more than 20 countries in my life later. But you need to be able to just take the first step and understand that all things around you would need to support to actually make it possible. And this is really the reason why I can take a chance with young kids about self-driving cars. And they've never seen one and they've never been in one, but I'm actually motivating them to do one. So it's a matter of fact that you mustn't be afraid to actually get in there. Sometimes just be the one who's going to be humble enough to say, no, I'm going to take a chance, I'm going to try to do this, and then be able to achieve something out of it. Are you going to achieve everything? I don't think you have to achieve everything, because remember, it's all about when you're trying every time that you become successful. So don't be embarrassed and don't be ashamed that you might fail. Actually, failure is a good thing because you can still try it again and try it again. And that's what I've learned in life. And that's what I see in most of the up-and-coming leaders, the kids I talk to, the kids I mentor. It's all about the fact that I always say to them, I'm the one who's carrying a Red Bull, and you want to run around, I will pour the Red Bull on you, and you'll run. The minute I see that you're starting to slow down, I will go and get around that doors and give it to you again, so that you can run around again.
So, Sandile, let's touch on technology. What would you say are the tools of technology, or maybe the technologies that you would recommend future leaders should learn and master?
Wow, that's a very complicated and difficult one because technology changes very fast. It's one of those things that you can sleep today and tomorrow you wake up, somebody's come up with something new. But there's one thing that doesn't change within technology part that I've seen, which is the most important thing when you go into technology, is the way you network and the way you build people through technology. I mean, I'm one of the people who, I think when I was on Facebook, then I had a lot of, I will claim influence and a lot of people that I follow and be able to actually impart knowledge on them. when I moved to LinkedIn, because I'm now completely working on LinkedIn as a way of networking and talking to people, I still drive in the same mode. So I think for me, when it comes to technology, firstly, you must have to underpin it with your normal social skills, understanding what is the business social language and what is the social common language, and be able to use this language within the networking that you can build through technology. Why I will say I think networking will be much more important, because one thing hasn't changed in the whole way of technology. It is the way we connect. I mean, technology comes with new ways of connecting, which social media is doing it very well and very fast. But the fact is, you still have to have those basic skills, the skills of being a social person and being able to talk to people, but be able to integrate within the technology part of it. So I will say, I mean, the most important part of it is more or less understanding the part of the networking using technology. I've got a way of working around in Microsoft, you call it marketing site, kind of like your social listening, and be able to look at your brand and how people are working around your brand. There's another part that you need to learn as a person of leadership, and when it comes to more especially technology part, how is your influence being viewed and being measured by others? So what is the insight that are coming out there? What are the people saying as a feedback? So again, for me, LinkedIn is a very interesting one that has actually been giving me a lot of that, because I can actually be able to see how many people have actually liked what I'm saying, how many of them have commented on it, let alone how many have viewed it. So before I used to be very excited when people are viewing it. These days it's no longer about viewing. It's about the comment, it's about the like, because then I know I've got a little bit of influence to them and I'll be able to go back. And then the other part, when you're using technology, it's really not about the fact that people are viewing and people are following. Are you reaching out? Are you networking back? Are you able to actually, when the person comment and responding to it, not thank you, but maybe what are the insight? What are you talking about? Are you able to actually side message some of the people and carry on the conversation so that you can come up with something fruitful at the end? So it looks like social media for now is actually playing a very big role around this. And I mean, social media in all contexts. I mean, the social media being your LinkedIn, the way you're doing it, or opening up your own channel within YouTube and be able to start broadcasting and talking to people and giving them insights.
Now, Sandile, you've built a very strong and very positive brand on LinkedIn. When it comes to social media, how would you advise future leaders? Should they go about building their personal brand on social media?
You see, the personal brand is a very important content, okay? Because remember, whatever goes on social media never comes out, yeah? So, and again, it's open up to the world. So the most important thing is to be very careful around how this brand and the importance of the brand and how you measure it. So this is important because then it means you know what you can talk to and what you can be able to post. Because otherwise, if ever you start posting things which are going to be negative to what you are known of, then your brand will be diminished. So what you need to be careful of is actually nurturing this brand and understanding what it is. Personal brand is same as Coca-Cola. So if ever you are thinking about anything else, just think about how Coca-Cola would have done this. So when I work with my team, when we're coming up with ideas, I always say to them when you sit down, don't think about this client wanting to do something. Don't think because it's government, you want to do this way. Just think about how would have Coca-Cola done this, because it's one of the biggest brands in the world. So when it comes to your personal brand, again, it's the same thing. What is the tagline? What are you known of? What is it that you want to leave with the person you have read that particular message you have put in? What is the picture that's going to capture the person? Because remember, a picture is what sometimes make a person to get into your story. So how are you going to capture into it? And then the other last one is, how do you carry the message? How do you link the message? Because remember, you cannot be a soccer today and be cricket tomorrow and different when it comes to personal brand. There must be a purpose. There must be a reason why you're doing things. How do you network and put together these things so that the person can follow the trend of what you're trying to do and be able to support it correctly? Otherwise, if ever you are actually doing a multiple of things, sometimes then you're confusing the brand, because I mean, a person will never know just the Fanta orange or was the Coca-Cola. But if ever you keep being Coca-Cola in the way you present yourself and the way you knit it together, then people understand. When you look at Sandile's profile, there's clarity around the fourth industrial revolution, there's clarity around digital transformation in my way, and there's a clarity around the future of technology and future of our country, which is the technology. So that is a very important part of it.
So you have to be consistent
Yes.
and
And
congruent.
congruence, yeah.
Now, Sandile, as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored somebody and that person took your advice to heart?
So there is a young man, Egoruleni, it's Tabang Mabusa. So why I'm going to mention him, because when we met, it was like, you know, when you meet somebody on the, I think it's the Activate, it's the name of the program, and I was a speaker there, and then he said, by the way, I want to mentor me, which I always get every time when I've been speaking to young people. And I said to him, you know what, I'm not going to be able to mentor you. The only thing you're going to be able to do for me is you're going to follow me and you're going to actually work and organize me to talk to you more. And then young man now, he runs Ulwazi Resource. And he wanted to open up a company, by the way. And I said to him, no, you're going to open Ulwazi Resource, a social enterprise part. And why are you going to be resource? It's going to be about you offering resources to young people who are like you, who want to grow. Our mentorship journey, it always has been about trying to make him focus on how other people are learning and growing through him versus how much money he can make out of it. Because he had a choice. He could have actually been able to put all these resources together and charge people for doing things. But what he's been doing is been going around. I mean, I remember companies like Kellogg's and all those partners supporting him, where you just go and take a breakfast into kids for him to get an opportunity to talk to the kids about being a leader. Now, I mean, the guy is running startups, competitions, is running so many interesting, Liondale, he took that concept and he came up with it in different townships, and he actually offering even money for this young kid to sponsorship to be able to actually come up with the idea, pitch the idea, and be able to be rewarded for it. Ways is very successful. I think he's a Standard Bank Star Award. He won that. He won a couple of awards. He was part of Nelson Mandela fellow. He went to the US because of the fact, again, of the recognition of the work he has done. Has he been successful? He has been. Have I played a role in it? I think there's a minimum role I've played within the legal sessions that he had to set up himself to make sure that he can catch up with me every time to get his idea and get his advice. The way I look at mentorship in my part is not really about me actually setting up things with people and sitting down and telling them about what they must be doing. It's like coaching as a team. I want to see how you can play soccer, and then how can I coach you to do it better, and how you can pass it around correctly, and be able to observe what you do and be able to advise you on the other side how to do it. So I think for me that has been a very interesting learning through him, which has given now a shape to what I'm doing with the Claremont kids, which has given shape to some of the other kids I'm mentoring, because it's the same concept. Follow me wherever I am, follow me on social media, tell me what you're doing, I will follow you and I will look at your profile and I will advise. Some of the kids, by the way, started very well, we're coaching them. I had to drop them because of the fact that when you came to the way they were interacting and the way they were building their brand, my brand association with them was not going to be bad. So I had to actually be able to cut it down.
So Coach Sandile, if I may say, are there any role models of leadership that you would recommend future leaders should study?
So one of the interesting ones that I'm following slowly, because I work for the company that is leading, Satya is doing a very interesting part. Satya has turned around Microsoft to be a very interesting platform-led company. At the very minimum, we talk about license these days, we talk about platforms, we talk about AI, we're talking about a very interesting part. Sometimes when I talk to people, they talk about the fact that we are part of the health sector, we are part of policing sector, we're part of transforming government. People actually get surprised. So I think for me, there is a lot this man is doing currently. He has reached out to $1 trillion company currently. Just can imagine, how far I can go. Again, it's still in the initial stage because we're still growing the business outcome. So I think for me, that's one of the leaders, when I talk about maybe other leaders who are inspiring to observe and to learn from, is the technique of how humble the man is. They came up with a new thing of not profitability but the impact. We're measuring an impact that you are making, and then the good money will come. So those are the very interesting part. And then the other one is Jack Ma. Jack Ma is a very interesting man if you study around what he did with Alibaba. And I always get fascinated when I listen to him around how many times he actually failed. The guy could not even be employed by KFC. But you can just imagine where he is today and how he has given other people opportunity within his own company to actually be able to actually shine and be able to be stars they're supposed to be. So I think for me, again, he might have retired in Mhalaba, he might have not been there now anymore. But I think there's more powerful things we're going to be doing, being out and being able to adapt chief in terms of technology and all the other things outside there within the people. So those are the two for now. I think for me, they are solidly, selfishly around what I'm doing currently, because I'm observing a lot of those things and I'm actually trying to go back to my community where I am serving to actually be able to relive the way they are and relive the way they're transforming society in different places.
Now, Sandile, where can our listeners follow you and how should they reach out to you?
It's a very always funny thing when people ask me for my business card, which I don't carry because I don't have one anymore. And I always say to people, the only way you can get hold of Sandile is through LinkedIn. Because this is where you can actually understand the work I do and be able to follow the work I'm doing every time. Majority of the talks that I do actually will be through LinkedIn, some of the cases, and some of the cases where I'm getting invited to actually be able to come and talk in different places. So that following and the part of LinkedIn actually helps to actually understand where I am and what I'm doing. And when you have to contact with me, actually, the I am within LinkedIn is the best part, because when you leave most of the messages, I think one of the clients actually was saying to me, I like the way you communicate on email, but I actually appreciate the way you're answering your LinkedIn, because you're always there for me every time.
Now, Sandile, last but not least, is there one piece of advice that you would really like to convey to future leaders that they should implement in their own lives?
I think the last advice, there's two words that my mother used to teach me very well. Respect and be humble. You have to respect in the sense where you're not being respected, because that's the only way you can teach respect and you can get it back. So that is the part that I will just say. Just to say, maybe, you can be an achieved leader. Maybe you might have been highest paid leader. But I think humbleness and respect, it actually supersedes what you can be paid and what you can get back in leadership. So that is the part of saying, when you think you have achieved, when you think you are a leader, you won't be complete unless you've got that respect nature and you've got that humbleness part of it. That actually going to be able to take whoever you are and replicate it to other people and grow it from there.
Well, Sandile, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership, and for doing all the good work that stands out, literally stands out on LinkedIn, and for reminding us that community and collaboration and networking and service are at the very heart of leadership.
Thank you very much, Nick. It was really nice that we've reached out to actually have this particular interview, and I'm really happy with the work you do with yourself. And I think this is the only way we can be able to actually start some more leaders out there and get them out there and get known for the work they do and to learn from each other. I really appreciate it. It's been a very humbling experience. Thank you.